Hello once again, Star Wars and unboxing fans. Welcome to another episode of Darth Tuba's Star Wars Unboxing Show. I am your host, Darth Tuba, with not one, but two very special unboxings. We're back into our customization kick, where we have taken items from not one, but two customizers to expand on our custom figure, retro style figure collection. So first one we have, see if I can get my bearings here. We have the part of the group, the Next 17. Okay, the Next 17 is essentially an awesome customizer who does these really cool things. In addition to making really cool figures, he also does little cool backdrops. He does little carded kind of things like what's missing, what's not missing, what's coming, what's on the road. I haven't fully committed to getting everything this guy is making, or this company or this group is making. And again, as I say in my disclaimer throughout everything, is that it's important to understand that you, the collector, have to decide if customization is something you're into or not. For me, I've been a fan of all different types of Star Wars fandom and collecting specific types of fandom. Okay, but for me, the customization to me is a very art-based thing. Again, I have a child art who is an adult artist who does some really cool things, hence my shirt, and some really cool art and design and whimsical types of creations. So I'm very supportive of that type of thing, especially fan art. And I believe that customization figures falls into that category. I'm not here to debate whether or not it lessens the value of our original vintage figures, although I will say, frankly, the more experience I've had in being around the vintage collection and I'm talking about the original real vintage collection, not the vintage collection figure that Hasbro's putting out now. That's great, but the vintage looking 5 POA figures from the 70s and 80s does not seem to be going down in price. It seems to continue to go up and up and up. I don't know why that is, but I think things like customization and Star Wars in the popular zeitgeist is just making that happen. And I've said in this episode, or on this channel, that some of the newer, like Power of the Force from the late 90s, early 2000s, is not retaining its value as much. And I just really feel that that's just mass produced. There just was so much of it that it doesn't have as much value. So what do we have here? All right, let's see. I gotta look at my little chart here. All right, in fact, yeah, because some of these characters. First of all, Next 17. Okay, I'm gonna just put this on here. You can take a screenshot. Here's the way to get a hold of them. There's a QR code. There's a Patreon thing you can do. I appreciate this. I appreciate the way they do it. All right, so this comes with, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I believe 6 figures, okay, along with all of the accoutrements that come with them. So let's work them in one at a time, but not necessarily. Oh, let's see if I can do them in order here. First, let me get them out of their little bubble wraps here. Okay, I'm going to put all that over here. All right, we're going to start with, I'm going to say, yeah, we're going to start with number 103, which is this guy right here. Okay, but I gotta have to get all of his their little, as I said, their accessories out and get them all ready to add to the thing, which I think is cool. I appreciate. Oh, this one is this. Oh, okay, that's interesting. All right, I have to see what that is for, but we'll look in a second. All right, we have a couple of capes here. Looks like it's kind of the soft goods thing. So 103. The character's name is Dazon or Dazon. Okay, here's the figure naked. Well, not naked, but without any of its things. And again, 5 POA, right? Arms, legs, no knees, no elbows, head spins. That's it. I think this is the one, like, when you first go to the canteen, it goes boop, boop, boop. All right, looks like he gets the brown cape. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do this thing. Okay, here we go. Looks like you just put it in like that. Put it in like that. Get in there. You know, it's so funny. I haven't really taken off the capes of my Return of the Jedi era characters like Luke and, you know, Squid Head and things of that nature. Okay, and it looks like his weapon is. Oh, I'm not 100% sure which one of these is his. I'm gonna say, oh, they look like they're all the same, so I'm gonna give him this kind of weapon. Oh, I like the weapon. All right, there he is. Oh, so cool. Such a cool addition. Now, right now, I've been taking all my custom figures and I've been putting them in a display case. But, you know, if they ever come out with a Cantina playset, or I know we have a Cantina playset, I might decide to pull some of them out and put them in here, because this is definitely a Cantina alien. So, kind of belongs there with, you know, it looks like it'll fit right in there with Walrus Man and Hammerhead and Snaggletooth. Just another character to add to the Cantina aliens. And again, Kenner opted not to make this. Now, yes, they have made new versions. And look, even Hasbro is trying to get in on it with the whole retro style figure collection of Ahsoka and Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian and Obi-Wan. So they're getting into it, but they still haven't really addressed old characters not made in the vintage style. Yes, they've made them in the new style, but not the vintage. So I think it's an untapped market, and I think that from an artistic standpoint, it's a cool thing to add. So I'm going to put him right here. And oh, does he pass the stand test? Oh, kudos to the nifty pegs on the feet. That's really cool. All right, so that's number 103. Hemdazon. Okay, how about 104? Falpern. Okay. Now this guy I love because I've been seeing him, or at least his alien species, in a lot of Rebels and Bad Batch and episodes like that. You know, when they do the animation, they have to render characters, and you see those characters pop up a lot until they can have time to render new characters. So that is pretty cool. So there he is, and it looks like all he has is a weapon. So we will give him once again another weapon. I'm kind of liking the way the next 17 makes their weapons. They kind of have like the handles have kind of they come to a point, which just makes them easier to kind of guide into the hands. But again, it's got the nice tunic. And I'm looking, it looks like these tunic torsos are very similar for all the characters. So maybe they just use a similar mold and just kind of expand upon it, which is great. You know, again, another one that could fit in the Cantina really, really well. And again, passes the stand test very well. All right, so number 104, Falpern. How about 105, Dr. Evazan? All right, now this guy, I don't have many of my loose figures. Oh, he comes with a vest. Let me get him in his vest. He needs to be fully ready, so he can do his thing. I gotta get his thing. Now I gotta say a little cool thing about Dr. Evazan. Okay, I knew who Dr. Evazan was well before I even was totally into Star Wars. I mean, or at least he was among the first characters that I thought, I remembered thinking was so cool. Why? I didn't even know what he looked like. Okay, the reason though I knew things about him was because I used to listen to when before kids we had streaming, or before we had video cassettes or DVDs or Blu-ray or any of that stuff. We had the story of Star Wars, the album, and it was basically 40 minutes of the story, edited down with a narrator to kind of fill in the gaps. So you would hear the things, you'd hear the talk. And for some reason, in just listening, I always thought he sounded like, to me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. He sounded like Alec Guinness. He wasn't Alec Guinness, but he sounded a little bit, he had a similar timbre in his voice. So I always got confused, who's saying what? Is this Obi-Wan talking to Luke when he would say, "He doesn't like you. I don't like you either. You just watch yourself. We're wanted men. I have the death sentence on 12 systems." And then Luke would say, "I'll be careful. You'll be dead." And then you'd hear Obi-Wan, "This little one's not worth the effort. Now let me get you something." And I was thinking to myself, who's talking to who here? As a kid, all I had was the sound. Is it Is it Alec Guinness? Is it Obi-Wan saying to Luke, you know, this little one's not worth the effort? Is he talking to Luke about Evazan, or is he talking to Evazan about Luke? I mean, it was really confusing. Obviously, it made more sense once I started watching the movie more, when we had better access. But that's a great character. I definitely want to find another. I don't want to. I have a Walrus Man action figure displayed in my loose collection. And look on a previous episode, I just completed my loose collection of vintage figures. And he's in there. I don't want to get rid of him. I don't want to take him out. But if I can find another Walrus Man and put him next to this guy, that would be so cool. That would be awesome. And he comes with his little drink. All right. And again, passes the stand test. All right. Dr. Evazan. Yeah, I'm not sure why they didn't make him. He had a line and everything, They gave it to creatures who had no lines. They gave him made figures, but not him. Maybe because he was kind of ugly looking. I don't know. He was... I can't even tell you. 106 is Devilman, or Malak. This guy, and he's the other one with a cape, so let me just get him ready with his cape. Interesting, they gave him a different color blaster. They gave him kind of a gray blaster, maybe because he's got a lot of black going on here. He's got his cape, he's got his tunic is black. Oop, there we go. It's a cool thing with these capes. I like what they did here. Okay, I'll give him his blaster right away. There it is. See, I love the blaster. It just fits so easy into the hands. I remember the laugh. It was something like that. And I remember him in the holiday special. What I'm loving about this is that now I'm like, if they ever make an Akmina figure and a Krellman figure from the holiday special, the Harvey Korman and B. Arthur characters, I think I want to create a diorama of that cantina. I mean, it's the same cantina technically, but I want to create that one and put these guys in there because they're all in there, as they're doing a little song and dance number. I am not a hater on the holiday special. I won't deny it's weird and there are parts of it that are unwatchable, but I still enjoy the holiday special, especially as we're approaching that time of year. Life Day is about, just at the time of this recording, it's only about a month away. In fact, by the time this recording drops, it might even be Life Day. So, woohoo! All right. How we got? 107. We have... I am 100% confused as to why this character never got his own figure until later on. Not because he was all that active, but there were a lot of characters in Star Wars, particularly the first movie, that received action figures that weren't all that active. And in the whole trilogy, they were just there. Now maybe it's because they were more interesting to look at, so Kenner thought that kids would be more interested in playing with aliens rather than just your friendly neighborhood snarling bartender named Wuher, right? Yes, Wuher. Wuher's got a great story in a Legends tale now called "We Don't Do Wedding," the band's tales from Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina. It's a series of books. It's kind of similar to that from a certain point of view, where they tell stories from all the different characters surrounding the main characters in the time that they come into the cantina. But it's just all the different characters around the cantina and what was going on in their lives. And this is one with the band that had their whole life and how they ended up getting there and what was going on and how they met Wuher, who's their only human friend, and how he takes it up. All right, this one probably my least favorite. I mean, it's a great figure. Whoops, got some domino effect happening here because I shook the table. There's not much to him. He's got a tunic. He's very beige. He's got a light beige tunic, brown belt, darker beige pants, and light brown boots. And he's got the most interesting thing about him is his two cups that currently he's spilling. But he was a bartender. That's what he does. That's his life. So there's Wuher. Okay. And then last but not least, we have number 108, Wolfman, or Lak Savrak, or Lak Srivak. Now, this is only for the non-special edition. Here he is. But I loved. Look, I'm not a hater on anything with Star Wars, but I'm really not a hater on the special edition. I love the special edition. I understand why they removed this character. He was no longer in it. So you have to look for him. Kids, if you're like looking at this and you're thinking, why do I never seen it? You have to find a version of the non-special edition version of Star Wars. I'm sure if you look on YouTube, you can at least find the old scenes, okay, from the Cantina. This one, I believe, was replaced by that elephant creature, or I think that elephant creature looked like an elephant, a little tusk and everything. I think it was actually two heads. It was an upside down version of it or whatever, and they kind of replaced some of the, this character. Now, why did they replace him? I don't know. I think my educated guess and what I've read is that this was just an not off the shelf like you get it in the store, but Rick Baker had to, I believe the way the story goes is George was not happy with the Cantina alien sequence that was shot. So he actually called in Rick Baker, and they did some pickups, and he got some more aliens, and they did some more editing to give it a little bit more of a alien flair, if you will. So he just grabbed, that's where the Cantina masks came from. That's where the Wolfman mask. This is basically just from like another. You can actually see this probably in some old B horror movie somewhere in the late 70s or in the mid 70s, late 60s, early 70s, and he just reused the mask. So there he is. Yeah, definitely, it's Wolfman, right? Or American Werewolf in London, that type of thing. So that is the characters, and in addition to that, you got some paperwork from the Patreon. And what I love about their Patreon is that, and listen, I don't own a Patreon. I don't start a Patreon. I don't want to do a Patreon. I know that there are people that try to get people to donate to a Patreon like on a monthly basis. I do that from a couple of the very early on podcasts that I have listened to that were there before anybody else was there. And I do like to support them with $1 a month, that type of thing, very basic. But to get extra content and things like that, I don't want to go down that road, and I certainly don't. I can't afford to do it for all the podcasts I listen to, all the YouTube channels I watch. But I appreciate that they're out there. I personally don't want to do it myself. But at this one, it's a little different because this is essentially what he does. He basically sends us. We send money to pay for the cost of making these things. So these are all fantastic. And look, it even comes with a Cantina background with the tables. Okay, so you can even set them up like. Here, I'll do a little demo here, right? You can set up your little thing, and there's your little guy standing there, right? So, kind of cool. Now, it looks like we have even a preview of what's coming next on the next 17. This is, looks like we've got this guy, Hermie, is coming. Then we got the is it Elis? And then we have a couple of prototypes that you can opt for, and they even have some, you can get some vests for the bounty hunter, which I kind of like. You can get vests for the original. I don't know if I'm going to opt. I might opt for these big 2 ones, but I don't know about everyone else. We will wait, and we will see. So that is almost it. There is another thing. Now, there is another. Now, what is the other? Well, first, let me, comes with the story. If you've been watching my channel, you'll know that there's another franchise that I've been kind of into lately. Every couple of years, I kind of revisit my fandom for the TV miniseries V. And why do I do that? Well, let me just make sure I got the right thing here. Hold on. Okay, I guess this is right. Let me just make sure I'm not. I'm gonna make sure I'm not. Be funny if I opened this up and it was like because sometimes I order things. Yeah, that's right. I order things and it's like things that I think are coming, and then I realize that I had the wrong one. But no, I had the right one this time. I'm getting better at that. All right, so I've been revisiting my fandom for V, and again, I said this on previous channels. The V. To me, the V show was my placeholder, or was my filler to take the place of Star Wars when Star Wars ended. I mean, literally to the day. I mean, Star Wars came out in '83. It ended. The summer ended, and then around that same time, V, the series, came out, and it was a TV show, so I didn't even have to go to the movies to watch it. And I just remember being very, very excited about it. And I don't know, it had a very similar Star Wars vibe, although it was more Earth-centric. So I was always really so happy to enjoy that. And I just recently have come across some people that have, the customization world is an awesome world. There's people that, and that's one of the great things about the internet, right? One of the great things about the internet is the fact that the internet is filled with people that think like you. You just got to look for them, try to find them, track them down, okay? And I am of the opinion that that's a good thing. It could be a bad thing. It could be a problem. There could be issues. But I'm always so happy to be able to find areas, people that I say, oh, look at that. That's really cool. And I just love it. I just absolutely love it. So I have discovered that there have been people that have made very, very accurate versions of the V characters. And I'm so excited to share with them now. We're going to start with our V Shock Trooper. Okay, and again, this is 5 POA. This is not meant to be done in any, And the funny thing about the 5 POA, like retro style figure, this isn't anything new. Like Super 7 is now like the great maker of all these. You can get characters from every TV show, every movie that came out in the 70s, 80s, 90s, everything that didn't have an action figure back in the day, whether it was, whatever reasons why they didn't. Sometimes they just didn't feel it was appropriate, some because it was like an R-rated movie like Alien or something like that. They've now created them licensed for everyone, but they haven't done V yet. So I refuse to wait. There are these brilliant figure artists that have created, look at this. Anybody who's seen the show, this is absolutely phenomenal. And it's got that same feel of all the other action figures. It's going into my Star Wars thing. I'm going to put it right there with the other ones. Because there was an episode a few weeks back where I have my one V figure. Here he is. This is the only licensed action figure that ever came out of V. This is it. It's a 12-inch figure. It's really cool. Okay, but the only one. So why they didn't think this... And what the funny part was that there was even a scene, and I mentioned this in the last episode, there was even a scene that in the first episode where the visitors come down and they're our friends and everything is really wonderful and they're going to help us and we're going to help them, and it's just like this this facade, because it ended up not being that, but this facade of this universal brotherhood of mankind and alien kind and whatever. And they even apparently were giving away or selling toys of their characters, of the people that came down, of Diana, of John, of all the main characters. They were literally in universe having toys. I don't know if somebody else was making them. That was total fiction, because if the visitor ship comes and lands and they tell you that we're your friends, and then like literally in the story it was like a week later that there's toys. There's no way that happens. So either the visitors brought them to sell or somebody got really, 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 really fast at making stuff. But anyway, this is what they look like. They were so beautiful. And I always loved the red uniform. I always thought that was really sharp. These are also my school colors where I teach. So red and black, cool. But just a great thing. And the shock troopers were they were the stormtroopers of the mid-80s, same idea. All right, and then there were two characters that were my absolute favorite characters. All right, first we had Martin. Okay, now Martin was the visitor that was the member of the fifth column, which were basically the good visitors. They're the visitors that didn't agree with what their planet was actually trying to do, and Martin was very instrumental in helping the Resistance win their victory over them. Of course, he was also a traitor to his people, but we don't think about that. We just think that Martin was a good guy. He's played by an actor named Frank Ashmore. Sadly, I haven't seen Frank do too many things. I thought he was great in this. He literally came back. There was a miniseries, I think it was 3 episodes, and then there was another, like a Final Battle, second set of series that came out after, like the next year, and there were 2 episodes. Like they were all movies. And then there was a series, a weekly series, went for about 23, 24 episodes. It only lasted 1 season. It wasn't very good, but he did, and what happened, spoilers, the character of Martin was in the first episode of the series, but he got killed by the main antagonist, Diana. But then his brother comes back, very soap opera-ish, back in the 80s. It was always interesting. If they wanted to bring an actor back, they just brought him back, his twin brother. And that's what they did, and he brought back Philip. So this is kind of both Martin and Philip. This technically is Martin because of his rank. Philip was a higher ranking, but it's a pretty good likeness. His neck's kind of long. I don't, Philip or Martin was the actor was a little more stocky. He just had a little bit more of a kind of a little bit shorter. So they're probably basing this on maybe another character. I'm not sure, but anyway. But the face likeness for vintage retro style figures is fantastic, and he does come with a blaster. Let me take the blaster out of his holster here. I love the blaster. I'm not going to touch it because they're very delicate, but the blaster was a very unique design. I'm going to put it over my forehead there. It had this really cool look, and it had made this really cool sound effect. Made a sound effect. Watch the show. Watch clips about it. It's great. For the time, and it was great. It was great, and even this very retro style, but they have a holster. They have the gun in the holster. Fits very nicely. Very good. So that is Martin. Oh, except Martin just lost his arm. Okay, that's not good. But again, he's going to find himself in a display, so he should be okay. I don't want to glue it, because if you glue it, then he can't move his arms. All right, and then lastly, but not leastly, we have the comic relief of V, Willie, played expertly by a very different type of character actor, Robert Englund. And if anybody knows that name, any horror fans out there will know that Robert Englund, his claim to fame is Freddy Krueger, the original Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street. I never watched a single Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't want to see Robert Englund playing the demented Freddy Krueger, killing people in nightmares and whatever he does in those movies. I prefer the nice Robert Englund character, who plays the lovable but kind of dim-witted Willie. His character was very interesting. It was definitely there for comic relief. He was there as just a worker. He wasn't a soldier, but he knew what was going on, and he didn't like it, but he just did what he could do. But then he ended up falling in love with one of the humans, and he ended up liking the humans in general. So he joined the Fifth Column himself, and he became a mainstay character all the way through the 2 series and the short-lived regular series. But his story was funny. That he got transferred. He was supposed to be. He learned Arabic to be stationed somewhere in the Middle East or whatever, and they transferred him last second to L.A. So he's trying to learn the language, and he screws up the words all the time. He'll say things like, I have a, it's I am just instead of I am lost. Things like that. So it was a cute thing. But they really got the likeness well, Robert Englund's likeness for this. So really good. So there is our customization. I wonder if Super 7 is going to come out with these. I can't imagine that it isn't going to happen if it hasn't happened already. But these are so good that I just wanted to include a few. I picked up a couple. I have another one. In a previous episode, I did have another Martin figure. But essentially, it was kind of a poor man's Martin. This person essentially just took a Jedi Luke Skywalker and painted his whole outfit red, and put a tunic over it, like a cloth tunic, similar to the vest here from Evizan, and called it, and put it, but he put it on a really cool card. So I like that too. But anyway, I rambled a lot today, but there was a lot of figures here. Really great to be able to share this with all of you. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out all the other videos that I have. Thank you to Red 5 Network for supporting the channel. And make sure to check out a lot of the Red 5 content. There's a great Star Wars related podcast and YouTube channels. And check me out on Instagram and Twitter, or X now as it's called. I'd probably be years before I finally just stop calling it Twitter, so whatever. And Darth Tuba Star Wars Unboxing page on Facebook. If you do want to support the channel, check out my TeePublic store. There's a rotating amount of cool Darth Tuba art, and there's just some general Star Wars art you can get on t-shirts and hats and things of that nature. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Until next time, may the Force and the toys be with you.